It was my dad's birthday. A big deal in my family. We're talking rented venue, chandeliers, tuxedos, the kind of place where they pass around shrimp on trays like it's a currency. Everyone who mattered was invited. Except me. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I got the message 2 days before. Not a phone call. Not even a text. My mother said it to my face while I was standing in the middle of the family room, holding a small gift bag like some clueless outsider. "You're not invited," she said, loud enough for the cousins and aunts to hear. "Don't embarrass yourself by showing up." I looked around. No one defended me. Not my dad. Not my sister Tessa. No one. It was like I was suddenly invisible. And the worst part? I smiled.
I don't know why.
Maybe because if I didn't smile, I'd cry. So I just stood there, nodded once, and left. But here's the thing. I didn't leave out of shame. I didn't run home to cry into a pillow or scream at the wall. I drove straight downtown to my office. Yes, my office. Because what none of them knew, not even Tessa, was that I wasn't the screw-up they kept calling me behind closed doors. I was their nightmare dressed like a silent success story. They thought I was working some average admin job. They didn't know I owned the entire damn company that Tessa's boyfriend just signed a contract with. I didn't flaunt it. I never needed to. I built Carter Strategic Group from scratch. From flipping coffee at 6 a.m. to closing deals with clients that paid more in a quarter than my family earned in a year. And I kept quiet because I didn't need their approval. I just wanted their peace. But that night, that changed everything. Because after I left the house, something wild happened. Tessa's boyfriend, Zach, this clean-cut, tailored suit, Wall Street energy guy, he showed up at the party all ready to propose. He had no idea what had gone down before he walked in. And when he asked, "Hey, where's Olivia?" and someone laughed and said, "Oh, she's not invited," he blinked once, then turned white. "That's my boss," he said. Just like that. In front of everyone. The room froze. I wasn't there, but Zach told me later it was like someone dropped a nuclear bomb in the middle of the party. My mom stopped mid-sip. My dad nearly dropped his fork. My sister. God, I wish I could have seen her face. Because when Zach realized I was the Olivia Carter, the CEO, the name on every one of his contracts, the reason he had a 6-figure bonus coming, he looked around that room and realized just how badly they'd screwed up. And they did. They screwed up so hard that when Zach called me an hour later, breathless and pacing outside the venue, all he said was, "They're panicking. They want to talk to you." And I told him, calmly, "They can send an email." That's when I knew the game had changed. I wasn't the black sheep anymore. I was the wolf they let go too soon. After Zach called me, I didn't say much. I didn't need to. Just that one line, "They can send an email," that was enough. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't scrambling to prove myself to them. I wasn't desperate for a seat at their table. I owned the table now. And I was deciding who got to sit down. The next morning, I woke up to 12 missed calls. 1 from my dad. 2 from Tessa. And the rest? My mother. No voicemails. Just desperate red bubbles staring back at me like a guilty conscience I didn't have anymore. Then came the text. From my aunt. "We didn't know, sweetie. Your mother didn't mean it like that." From Tessa. Zach overreacted. "Let's just talk." From my mom. "You embarrassed us last night. This isn't how family behaves." That one actually made me laugh out loud. I embarrassed them? By leaving quietly while they humiliated me in front of relatives and friends? See, this is the thing about people like my mother, they don't actually feel guilt. They feel discomfort. And discomfort makes them dangerous when their image is on the line. So I ignored them. I went to work. I took meetings. I signed off on a nonprofit tech fund that morning worth more than my parents' house. I even had lunch with Zach. He showed up looking nervous, like he thought I might bite. "I didn't know," he kept saying. I swear, if I'd known. I cut him off. "Zach, stop apologizing. You didn't hurt me." He looked down at his coffee. "Your family did." I nodded slowly. "And now they're scared."
Not sorry.
Scared. He looked up. Do you blame them? I don't waste time blaming people anymore, I said. I just don't invite them back in. Zach hesitated. Then he reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a velvet box.
Small. Square.
He set it on the table between us. I blinked. What's this? He didn't open it. He just said, it was supposed to be for Tessa. Last night. At the party. I stared at the box. You're giving it to me? No, he said, then exhaled. I'm returning it. Because last night, when I saw how they treated you, something shifted. I saw through it all.
The show.
The status. The fake smiles. And I thought, if this is what they do to someone like you, then what the hell am I even marrying into? I didn't say anything. He slid the box back into his pocket. Anyway, I'm done with Tessa. That surprised me. Not because I thought he should stay with her, but because I didn't think anyone ever stood up to my family like that. That night, I did something bold. I sent an invite to the entire Carter family. An invitation to my company's annual gala. Black tie. Champagne towers. Charity auctions. All under the name Carter Strategic Group. I booked the Pearl Ballroom, one of the most expensive venues in Dallas, and made sure my name was plastered on every wall, every banner, every press release. But the real move? I listed them, all of them, as guests, not VIPs,
Not family.
just attendees. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't slamming the door. It's holding it open and letting them see what they walked away from. You should have seen their faces when the invitations arrived. My mom called within an hour of receiving hers. Not to apologize. Not to ask how I was doing. Just this clipped, tight voice saying, "We got your invitation." I sipped my coffee and replied, "You're welcome." She hesitated. Is this some kind of stunt? No, I said. It's a celebration. Of success. Of growth. Of surviving what tried to bury me. She didn't say anything for a second. Then came the sigh. The one I knew so well. The one she used every time I didn't fit her mold. Olivia, you know how this looks. I do, I said. And I'm okay with that. Then I hung up. The night of the gala came fast. I showed up in a floor-length black gown. Simple, sleek, powerful. No diamonds, no show. Just elegance and presence. The room was buzzing. Over 400 guests, including names from Forbes, local politicians, media reps, and more than one person who once told me I wasn't executive material. And then my family arrived. They walked in like they owned the place. Even after everything. Angela wore a navy blue dress that tried too hard. My dad looked stiff in his rented tux. And Tessa? She showed up alone. No Zach, no ring. I watched them from across the ballroom. They hesitated at the entrance, not sure where to go, not sure who to talk to. Because here, they weren't the top of the food chain anymore. They were just names on a guest list. I waited. I made them sweat. Then, near the end of the evening, I approached. Olivia, my father said first. You look stunning. I nodded politely. Thank you. Angela's voice cracked just slightly. This event, it's beautiful. I know. Then Tessa stepped forward. Why did you invite us? I looked her dead in the eye. Because I wanted you to see what you walked away from. Silence. No one moved. No one knew what to say. So I filled the space. You treated me like I was disposable. Like I was nothing. You humiliated me in front of people who once called me family. And the entire time, I was building this. While you whispered about me behind closed doors, I was signing deals. Creating jobs. Becoming the kind of person you couldn't even recognize last week. My mother tried to force a smile. You've changed. No, I said. I just stopped shrinking. Then I excused myself to greet actual guests, people who saw me long before I had titles and status. And as I walked away, I caught a glimpse of them in the mirror behind the champagne bar. They weren't smiling anymore. They weren't superior. They were small. Because in a room full of power and purpose, they were the only ones who didn't belong. I didn't look back at them again that night. After I left them standing there, awkward, out of place, visibly shrinking inside their designer outfits. I walked straight to the small stage near the center of the ballroom, adjusted the microphone, and waited as the room slowly fell silent. A few people clinked glasses. A few whispered to their plus ones.
But then someone noticed me.
And then another. Until the air was thick with a hush I had never once received at any family dinner, any birthday, any graduation, where my achievements had always been either ignored or handed off as luck. But this was mine. I took a breath and smiled. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight, for celebrating something that didn't come easy, didn't come fast, and definitely didn't come with applause. I paused, eyes scanning the room, lingering for just a second on Angela's stiff posture, Tessa's crossed arms, my father's downcast eyes. You see, no one claps for you when you're in the grind. No one notices when you're staying up late just to make rent, or when you're eating ramen 5 nights a week so you can afford a startup license. There's no applause when you're driving an Uber on weekends so your business can stay afloat. And there's certainly no applause when you're rebuilding your life after the people closest to you decide you're not worth a seat at the table anymore. Some guests murmured. A few nodded slowly. I went on. But I didn't build this company to get revenge. I didn't grind to throw a party just to make anyone uncomfortable. I built Carter Strategic because there are people in this world who are underestimated every single day,
Who are told they don't belong.
who are pushed to the margins of their own lives. My voice didn't shake. It didn't waver. It had grown too strong for that. And I built this. I gestured to the chandeliers, the flowers, the 100+ staff in crisp uniforms, the buzzing press cameras near the back, to remind those people, you don't have to beg for respect. You don't have to bend to be accepted. You just have to keep building, even if no one believes in you, because someday they'll have to walk into a room with your name on every wall. Applause erupted. Not the polite kind. The kind that came from people who felt it. From other women in business. From self-made founders. From the intern who once sat on the floor with me eating cheap tacos while we planned the company's first campaign. From people who had climbed out of places no one ever applauded. I stepped down, and the rest of the night moved on. Donations were made, partnerships were announced, and people danced under lights I paid for with every late night I'd survived alone. But let me tell you what stayed with me. It wasn't the speeches. It wasn't the headlines the next morning. It was what happened as I left the ballroom. My father, Charles Carter, was waiting by the door. He looked older than he did just hours before. Like the weight of the truth had finally landed on his shoulders. Olivia, he said, voice low. I didn't know how much I hurt you. I nodded. You didn't want to know.
He looked down.
Your mother, she always had her way. I just tried to keep the peace. That's the problem, I said. You kept the peace for her. Not for me. He sighed, deep and heavy. You're right. I waited, unsure if anything else would come. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled something out. It was the gift I had left on the table, the leather-bound journal. He held it out to me. I couldn't bring myself to open it last night, he said. I opened it this morning. The first page, you wrote something. I nodded once.
Yeah.
I did. I never gave you a chance to say it to my face, he said. But I want you to know, I read every word. And I'm sorry I didn't listen sooner. He looked at me then, eyes moist. And for the first time in years, I saw something behind them that wasn't guilt, or pride, or performance. I saw regret. Real, jagged regret. I didn't hug him. I didn't cry. I just nodded once and walked past. Because forgiveness isn't always about opening your arms. Sometimes it's about walking away finally free. After that gala, everything changed, but not all at once. Change doesn't arrive in a neat little box. It creeps in, one quiet step at a time, and suddenly the entire landscape looks different. My father never returned to the man he used to be, not the harsh, silent one, and not the loving dad I once remembered. But he started trying. He sent messages. He mailed old photos from when I was a kid. I didn't respond right away. I didn't need to. Some wounds don't need conversations, they need time. As for Tessa, she didn't say a word at the gala.
Not one.
She just stood there, arms folded, jaw clenched, surrounded by a world that didn't revolve around her anymore. She didn't walk out. She didn't storm off. She just stayed frozen.
3 days later, she emailed me.
No apology. No warmth.
Just, Zach left.
Hope you're happy. I didn't reply, because it was never about taking anything from her. It was about finally standing in what was mine.
Zach and I?
No, we didn't become some perfect love story. He needed to find himself outside of my sister's shadow, and I needed to stand tall without leaning on anyone. But we remained in touch. Respectfully.
Genuinely.
And my mother? Angela Carter didn't change. People like her don't. She kept pretending nothing happened. Told her social circle I was off doing business things. Tried to spin the whole event like it was part of her plan. Told distant relatives she was proud of me, as if she hadn't kicked me out of the house just weeks before. But I heard something not long after. One of the aunts, her sister, actually called me. We don't talk much, but she said something that stuck. I was visiting your mom last weekend. She had a photo of you on the piano. The gala photo. I asked her about it, and she didn't say anything at first. But then she muttered, "She doesn't belong to us anymore." That sentence hit different. Not because it hurt, but because it was finally true. I didn't belong to them. I belonged to the girl who used to cry in the basement after being called a failure. I belonged to the woman who signed her first company check with shaking hands. I belonged to every version of myself who refused to give up, who stayed up late building dreams out of doubt and duct tape.
And now?
Now I belong to me. I don't look back much. I still see them sometimes, in articles, in social media posts, in old emails that surface like ghosts. But I don't feel hate. I don't feel grief. I just feel free. And if there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that family isn't who shares your blood. It's who claps when you rise and stands beside you when you fall. The rest? They'll watch from the sidelines. While you own the whole damn stadium.